California Public Utilities Commission is considering whether to allow 2 autonomous car companies to expand their operations in San Francisco.
Now, this would create a 24/7 paid passenger pickup almost anywhere in the city, similar to Uber or Lyft. State regulators are expected to approve the request from Waymo and Cruise on July 13th. This would make San Francisco one of the first cities in the U.S. to offer widespread driverless ride services. But city officials, they're not happy about the idea.
What's really going on here? Joining us now from San Francisco is Insider's senior reporter, Rob Price. Rob, help us understand this. Why would San Francisco leaders be against driverless cars and their expansion, considering the technology is coming from, effectively, Silicon Valley companies who've invested tons of money in making this accessible to us all? What's happening?
Sure, it's an interesting tension. So what's happened here is the rollout hasn't actually been super smooth the entire time. There's been a lot of hiccups over the last year or two when vehicles have really struggled to deal with unusual road conditions, and they've caused traffic jams and some more severe issues. In this calendar year alone, there's been 40 cases when a robo-taxi has interfered with fire department work, including blocking one-way streets and as well as firehouse driveways. There's been cases, which I'm sure you've seen the videos, where multiple self-driving cars have come to a stop seemingly for no reason on random city streets and intersections. There's a case where firefighters actually had to break an autonomous vehicle's window to stop it almost driving over a fire hose when it refused to stop. There was another case when an autonomous vehicle drove through hazard tape and got itself snarled in downed wires after a windstorm. And this is just causing real headaches for first responders and authorities. And so we've seen people like the San Francisco Firefighters Union, the San Francisco Police Officers Association, the Deputy Sheriff's Association, as well as some local politicians and supervisors speak and ask whether this tech is really ready for prime time.
Now, if California approves these permit requests, what kind of a win would this be for Waymo, Cruise, and the whole driverless car industry?
It'd be pretty significant. First, there's kind of a symbolic value of, as you say, California is the heart of the American tech industry. But also, San Francisco is an interesting place because it's quite a hard place in some ways for autonomous vehicles to operate. It's narrow streets, it's busy, there's variable weather conditions, and being able to drive in these conditions is really invaluable for these companies to continue to improve their technology, continue to learn, refine their models. It's much more of a challenge and therefore much more valuable than somewhere like Phoenix, which has been another hub for self-driving technology over the past year or two. And as they look to expand further nationwide to places with even trickier terrain, like, let's say, New York, San Francisco is a pretty important stepping stone on the road to getting there.
Rob, you've laid out some really compelling reasons why fully autonomous vehicles don't really exist right now, because they cannot be managed safely and efficiently over time so that all of us can not get behind the wheel. I remember covering some autonomous experiments in Texas where the landscape is flat and clean for things like trucking companies. So what needs to be done, in your view, to make these vehicles ready for prime time? Because getting in the way of first responders, to me, seems like a non-starter for any city.
Yeah, it's tough. With a lot of these model vehicles, they just require large amounts of training data, more and more practice, and it's arguable that there's other territories where they could, like Phoenix, where they could practice more and refine it more. But the counterpoint to that is, you talk to people like Waymo, and they say the bottom line is that these vehicles, as they are today, are safer than human drivers. They've driven 1 million+ miles. They've never collided with a cyclist or pedestrian. The collisions with cars have been due to human error. And so, whilst they recognize that there are clearly kinks that need to be ironed out in the process, they would say that what is already on the roads today is safer in a lot of respects than the status quo.
Well, Rob Price, thanks so much. We'll be following this closely.
Yeah, thanks, Rob.
Thanks for having me.